Yeah, this is really quite significant. Larijani, not well known, has been running the country for the last 18 months, day in and day out. He has subsumed the power of the presidency. When the supreme leader, the Ayatollah, was alive, he designated him to run the country on an interim basis. Apparently, he's been running it for sure since the Ayatollah died, despite the fact that his son has been appointed Mujab, as his successor. So this is the most significant leadership impact of the war since the Ayatollah was killed on day one of the war. It is a huge deal here. And from what I understand, other leaders were also killed.
That's General Jaquin with me in the last hour here on the breaking news of the morning. Israel killed Iran's security chief in an IDF airstrike overnight. He was basically running the country as Operation Epic Fury reaches day 17. President Trump told reporters the strikes targeting Iran prevented a catastrophic nuclear exchange, which he said would have inevitably spiraled into a third world war. Pentagon officials are planning to submit a supplemental defense request to Congress in the coming days. I'm hearing it is upwards of $50 billion, meaning $50 billion is just a start, likely much higher than that. I spoke with Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman on this program yesterday. Here's what he said about it.
I would vote 100%, and I would dare any of my colleagues to vote against providing our military the kinds of necessary munitions, the things that they need.
Joining me now is Florida Congresswoman Paulina Luna, a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Congresswoman, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. What are your thoughts on this defense supplemental to come, and how would you assess where we are in the war with Iran?
Look, I'm looking for what the pay for is. Obviously, we want to fund the military, but we want to make sure that we are handling your taxpayer dollars appropriately. And what I will say is that I would just want to reaffirm and reiterate to the American people that I have spoken and to the administration. I've heard from the Secretary of State a number of times. There's no plan on putting American boots on the ground. I do believe that this will be winding down. I think all of the objectives have been met by the administration. And I do encourage the president to release the intel reports after this happened so that people can understand what we were truly facing. But I think right now we are in a good spot, and I do look forward, though, to this indexing, as I believe that, again, the new incoming leadership in Iran, whoever that might be, I believe will have a better working relationship with the United States. And remember, under no circumstance do we want to allow nuclear enrichment.
Yeah, and I would say most people agree with that. They understand that this regime has been yelling death to America and death to Israel for 47 years. Mm-hmm. What's your take on what your colleagues are doing? The TSA union leaders are urging lawmakers to end the Department of Homeland Security shutdown, saying workers are suffering financially and working without pay. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy talked about it with me Sunday. Here's what he said.
300 TSA agents have quit. The number of call-outs are double what they were before. So you're right. And again, we want a smooth aviation system. And aviation is split up between Homeland Security and us at the FAA and DOT. And it all has to work together to make your flying experience better. And if you stand in line for multiple hours, you might make a choice not to fly. And a lot of people have to travel for business. They have to this is spring breaks. They're traveling for pleasure. And so it does have an impact.
Look, Congressman, and then there's the SAVE Act. If you can't even get your colleagues on the left to open up the Department of Homeland Security, you're obviously not going to get them to vote for the SAVE Act. The Senate is set for a test vote to begin debate on the Save America Act. If the Senate votes to proceed, days of debate on the voter ID legislation will follow. And I spoke with Fetterman yesterday, and he said in its current form, he cannot support this bill. Watch this. What specifically is bothering you about the current Save America Act in its current form, sir?
It is just not workable where it currently is. That's not a serious outreach from the Republicans to try to find something they can vote for it. So if they want to pass something to make it more secure or to provide ID, that's part of this conversation.
Are you suggesting that a driver's ID, a driver's license, or are you suggesting citizenship to vote is reasonable?
I will remind people that it's not a radical idea for Americans to provide ID, but that's not what Save America is right now, and they're attaching all of these other things that is a distraction to the core. I'm saying that you have to produce real ID or a secure state ID. That's part of a process, and that's up to the other kinds of states. So that's what's entirely appropriate.
Now, Congressman, I know where you are. You are unleashing hell on the Republicans who are not moving forward. You're vowing to launch a broad blockade of legislation unless the Senate passes the SAVE Act. Your colleague, Brandon Gill, saying similar things. Tell us exactly what's going on from your standpoint.
Look, there's a number of Republicans in the House that will refuse to vote on any rule that has Senate legislation, meaning no Senate legislation will pass unless the Save America Act is something that the Senate will vote on. But look, Maria, as you are seeing now, you are seeing some of the more moderate Democrats getting squishy on this issue. And what I will say is that we actually, if we stick this on FISA, let's say that everything goes to hell in a handbasket in the Senate and we can't get anything done with the standing filibuster, then we can stick it on FISA. As you know, Maria, FISA is one of these must-pass pieces of legislation that the Senate would literally walk over broken glass in order to pass. And I believe this is how we're going to actually get it done. But it is unfortunate, everything that you're seeing with TSA, Chuck Schumer saying that they want to, defund ICE operations and stop it. We've already funded it until 2028, so they're just playing games at this point. And remember, voter ID is national security, and it's the #1 way that we can protect our country.
So you're saying you want this attached to the legislation about redoing the FISA Act, is what you just said. But you also said recently that you are willing to do primary challenges against traitors. You call them traitors to the America First agenda, and you're even advocating for a convention of states to bypass uniparty swamp in D.C.
Yes, you've said it. That is me. That is my personal perspective. I think that we have some great House members, and there are a lot of these senators that say that they support the Save America Act, yet they don't want to talk to their leadership about the standing filibuster, and they won't put pressure on leadership to embrace it. That's really the one way that we can get a lot of the legislation, not just Save America Act, through the Senate and get through the blockade in order to codify President Trump's overwhelmingly popular policies, in which why he was elected the way that he was. And so I'm in favor of that, and I think that you're going to see, as more of these House members start to speak up in some of these more moderate states, you're going to see the Senate kind of buckle under pressure. But again, look, this is a very bare minimum deliverable that is bipartisan. The American people want voter ID, and so it's unacceptable that we can't deliver on that. And so I'm going to be a royal pain in the butt to the Senate until it happens.
And it wouldn't just be a driver's license, right? Because the driver's license have been issued in a number of states to illegals.
To illegals.
Yeah.
Correct. So it has to be proof of citizenship. And it's also crazy, Maria, because when you actually hear the debate from Democrats on this, they're saying that, minority women and, minorities as a whole and veterans can't get these proof of identification in order to vote. Look, I check all 3 boxes. I have had no issues getting, proof of citizenship to vote. And so we're definitely excited to take on these arguments in Washington.
One viewer wrote to me yesterday. She said, Maria, people need to understand that you have the proof of citizenship once, you get your birth certificate, and then you get a voter ID card. Then you're in the city, you're in the system, rather, as far as being, okay to vote, a citizen. So it's not like you're going to go through all of this all the time.
It's just crazy.
Yeah. Congressman, thank you. We'll be watching your work on this. Paulina Luna, thank you so much.